Whether it's bad planning, bad luck, bad timing, or bad inventions, well-intentioned bad decisions have plagued history for thousands of years. Welcome to Historic Hindsight. Hello and welcome to another episode of Historic Hindsight. I'm John, that's Tom, and today we're going to talk to you about meth.
Meth and the crystal meth and ice and all that fun stuff.
Ice, right?
Yeah, it's ice, but it's more like ice. It's more like ice cubes and a person who got stuck in the ice and then froze and somehow miraculously didn't die. And in all, it is like 90 degrees when we're recording this, and that's why I.
Give me that ice. I'll take it. Like what? She froze. Oh, yeah. So she froze. And, like got frostbite, but lived. We're talking about somebody who got stuck in a winter storm.
No, we're talking about somebody who froze solid. Like eyes froze open, a plank could not then move. Like froze solid.
Like one of those. Like a frog that, like there's species of frogs that will freeze in the winter
and then thaw
rock solid and then thaw out. She did that. So we are talking about when we prove that lizard people are running the earth.
Yes, exactly. So the whole story we're talking about today is about a Jean Hilliard, this Hilliard. I apologize to her because from all my records that I found, she is still alive.
Oh,
to this day.
She
decided to go for a walk in the Minnesota winter, would fall asleep, freeze, and somehow survive in 1980.
I'm sorry, she went for a walk and then fell asleep.
Well,
you glossed over.
I'm
Okay, all right.
I
hear you. I got you.
We got to get in the meat of the potatoes. We're trying something new. This is a little bit more modern history than what our normal history is, and just some odd history. We just felt like a quick. I've been working 6 days this week.
Yeah, it was time for a short pod.
Time for a short pod. I'm phoning this one in. So, sorry, guys. So the story.
This is a meme you probably saw.
Well, this is a meme you saw because you're the one
right.
who
That's why I told other people they probably saw it, because if I did,
Johnny saw it. So I did a little bit more digging into it. The story all starts in Langby, Minnesota on December 20th, 1980. Now, Langby is a middle-of-nowhere city in northwest Minnesota in Polk County. So that's the upper part of the United States, pretty much where nobody should live anyways.
All right, so that's Canada.
It's Canada.
Yeah, right, yeah. Canada Light.
And it's Canada Light, and as of 2019, the population of this city is a whopping
86,000?
87 residents total. No, 87 residents.
87 residents.
87.
Okay, all right. This town has a dog as its mayor, right? Like it's one of those. Like
when you go like Wikipedia or Google the city, their claim to fame is this poor girl who froze to death.
No,
that's it. That's all they got. They are also
like, hey, we had somebody who froze to death and then back to life.
Yeah, they're also very proud that they've had a post office at the city since 1898. So.
Well done there.
Well done, yeah.
Okay, like same post office. They didn't remodel it, demolish it, burn it down.
I'm sure it's
any of the riots or anything.
It's just a shed in the middle of a field. It's like post office.
What more could it be?
It's
87 people.
The post office in my town that I live in, which is a subsidiary of Brazil, which is even stupid. Like, I'm in a smaller city of a small fucking city.
Yeah, Brazil's a small town that no one knows about. You're in there. You're in the suburb of Brazil, Indiana.
And we have a post office across the street from my house. And it is like a tiny little big building that just has, like, I'm pretty sure it just has P.O. boxes in there.
Yeah.
And it's open like 2 hours a day. On
normally,
Tuesday and Thursday and the third Friday of every month.
Yeah, normally when you live in a suburb, like, you tell people that you live near that city. Like, when I'm elsewhere out of Indiana, I tell people I'm from around Indy.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm 20 minutes north of Indy. I'm in a suburb of it. You can't tell people that you're around Brazil, Indiana.
Yeah,
they won't know what that means.
By the way, of my home city, this has gotten off topic, but of Brazil, it's not my home city, but where I live. We're called Brazil because the guy thought, like, that's a cool name.
It is, no doubt.
Brazil's a cool place. Like,
yeah, he's still their mayor.
this random field with corn and shit reminds me of Brazil.
He was probably doing a lot.
He was probably doing a lot of meth. He was doing the ice. Anyways,
there's the tie-in. There's a tie-in.
All right. So 87 residents with one post office. On December 20th, Jean Hilliard, she's out with her friends at the Fawston, which is the suburb, like that's where they're in a suburb of Fawston. They go there to the American Legion in 1980, which apparently is the place, which tells you how big Fawston is.
I'm guessing it's the only place that sells alcohol in Boston.
She is 19 years old, and of course, at this point in time in the United States, we didn't really care about the whole, especially up in the north, like Minnesota, Wisconsin. It was like 18 was like you're golden.
So I know at least back in the 70s, in Michigan, you could go because like my parents grew up in South Bend, Indiana, and they would go up to Michigan. You could buy it at 18.
Yeah, most of those northern states that were very Germanic in heritage had that 18
until
the whole federal government came in and said, if you want funding for your roads,
you can't.
No.
Keep your laws. They're fine. Do whatever you want. You just don't get any of our money.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and so all the states went.
And they're gonna need that.
Yeah, they're gonna need that. We're gonna need that. We're gonna need that. So she's out there drinking with her friends up in the American Legion, which is like I think of American Legions, and I think of like just old people.
I get sad.
And like depression and a bunch of Pabst Blue Ribbon, which I shouldn't be making fun of that because I drink hams. But still.
I mean, give me a break, Tommy. You cannot talk to anybody about beer. But also pretty good poker games and tournaments. I think at the American Legion.
Fun karaoke. There, I've gone to an American Legion and participated in karaoke. So that's where they're at.
Yeah,
not the daily. Hey, that's not where I'm not going there on a daily basis. Like that's not my hangout.
No, you don't want to be a regular, I don't think.
So they're there, they're a regular, they're partying it up. She decides to drive home. She's borrowing her dad's Ford LTD rear-wheel drive vehicle in the snow and ice, because that's a smart idea when you've been drinking all night long.
Well, I mean, a good rear-wheel drive car in the snow is brilliant, and especially one of the 1980s standard. Now, I thought if you lived above a certain parallel, it was a law that you had to have a four-wheel drive car. Apparently, that's not the case. I was mistaken about that. So she's driving a rear-wheel drive car in Minnesota, basically Canada, on December 20th after drinking. Great.
It is negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit, Johnny, which is, I believe, negative 35 degrees Celsius or around that point.
That's fine.
So.
Okay, but what's it feel like? What's it feels like?
It feels like
that's what's important.
It feels like the minute you step outside, it's colder than the witch's titty, and you're gonna freeze.
Like you spit and it freezes before it hits the ground. We're talking about that. That's all those videos where people throwing that boiling water, doing that thing.
And
we're talking that cold. That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
All right.
So she's driving home. It's on the ice. It's negative 22 degrees outside. She's been drinking. Obviously, not a great combination, especially with a rear-wheel drive vehicle at the age of 19. She slides off, gets herself into a ditch.
That happened. Good God. Any of our listeners who are living in the warmer states or anywhere where you don't get a bunch of snow, it's true. It's so hard. It's not that hard to drive. You just have to go slow. But nobody does. Everybody thinks they can drive in the snow. And so the first snow of the year, every single time you drive down the highway, and it is literally every 300, 400 yards, somebody is in a ditch.
Yep. We had it just
and she did
ago.
Late night.
Yeah, late night.
Right?
Late night. This is around midnight that she's driving, a little bit earlier than midnight, probably around.
In a town of 87 people, who's going to drive by her?
Nobody.
If I slide off into a ditch, I'm fine. Someone will come by.
But to be fair, the car still runs. I mean, it's in the ditch, but it still runs. So you probably should just go ahead and say, all right, I'll idle this bitch all night, wait till the morning. Somebody eventually will come by me. I'll sleep in the fucking warm car.
Nope. Chances are your exhaust pipes up against that snow is going to block that. You're going to go ahead and die, Tommy.
Well, she takes the mode of
don't do that.
She takes the mode of I'm going to huff it because my friend he's just over that hill. He's just over.
No, that's not why.
His name.
She decided she was going to do that because she was drunk.
She's drunk
and just crashed her car into a ditch and was like, oh, if Officer Bob, who is literally the only cop in town, happens to drive by this road, I'll be arrested, and then I will bring shame upon my family forever.
So her friend Wally Nelson, he lives just nearby, or she thinks he lives nearby, and so she begins to trek in the negative 22-degree weather in her cowboy boots.
I assume she has other clothes.
She does. She has a winter coat and some gloves, okay. But it's a fucking, okay. She's got, from what reports I saw, she wasn't wearing like a hat. She was in the cowboy boots.
So she was in. She basically got into. I don't want to call them clubbing clothes, but going out clothes.
Yeah.
You know, she wanted to look good without having to take off a giant puffy coat, a hat, mittens, scarf, gloves. She
does have mittens in the coat, but minus everything else. Yeah.
Okay, but she's dressed for a night of fun where she's going to be outside from the car to the bar,
American
from the bar
Legion.
to the car. Yeah, but she's going to be outside for a total of 8 minutes for the night is how she's dressed.
So what she doesn't realize is that house is actually 2 miles away.
That's far.
That's far to walk in.
That's real
I don't
want
to walk
drunk.
2 miles when I'm drunk. So, Johnny, I told you the time that so when me and Johnny went to the same school.
Yes. College.
Hanover.
Yeah.
And Johnny lived across campus, and by across campus, I mean you can get anywhere on campus, even to the football field in 10 minutes walking.
It was a square mile.
Our
campus was a square mile.
1 square mile.
Yeah.
So Johnny lived on one side, and I lived in what I called Rome, or the college house is what they called it when I was there. It doesn't exist anymore. It literally
BFE.
Fell. Yeah, it fell off the mountain. No, you lived in BFE. I lived closer towards campus. And I would periodically go. I would periodically go and drink at Johnny's apartment. That was on campus, but close to
as an RA.
As an
P.S.
As the guy.
I mean, statute of limitations is up, so it's
on
fine.
On a dry campus, by the way, too. There's no alcohol there. And I remember one night, it wasn't winter, but it was colder. There was frost on the ground, and I got a little inebriated at Ogle, where Johnny was living, and I decided to walk to College House. It happened a lot. And as I'm walking to College House, I get about halfway, and I say, you know what? I'm good. And I just laid down in the ditch by the woods that were there and just took a little nappy nap.
What?
I took a little nappy nap. And by I took a little nappy nap, I mean I slept until the sun came up.
I had no idea you did this time.
And then I got up and I went, I'm going to go back to my... But I had my World War II... I was wearing my World War II winter campaign jacket, so it was fine. I was warming up.
You had a wool friggin' coat on. You're fine. You were camping in probably like 30-degree weather.
It was
basically
is
what
like,
you did.
Probably, yeah. It was fine. I was fine.
She's
doing this in negative 22 degrees.
Cowboy boots in negative 22 degrees, with probably lots of snow in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm only telling you that story because, to give you a comparison of what drunk people think like. Because the half a city...
There's a lot of false confidence.
The half a city block was just too much for me to go. So I get how she could fall asleep. But so she keeps telling herself, in the report, she's got, like, you can go and watch, like, YouTube stuff of her talking in old interviews. She kept thinking, like, oh, it's over this hill. And she would get up over that hill and she'd go, oh, fuck. What's over the next hill? And she get up over the next hill and go, oh, fuck. It's over the next hill. And because it's Minnesota.
Now,
so
I've seen a bit of that because, so if you go into, like, the woods or whatever, I went down to Brown County area, Indiana National Forest. It's very hilly, very wavy, and, like, a lot of river, valleys, everything else. Like, it is very, very deceiving how far something is when there's giant dips in the ground.
Yep.
You see, your level. You're like, oh, it's just there. But then you have to go all the way down and then all the way back up, and you got to keep doing that. And so, especially as a drunk person, I can see where she's, I got to just keep going and I'll be fine.
So she does eventually see the lights of Wally's house. And in her report, she says she remembers seeing the lights, and the next thing she knows, she just fell asleep and that was it. Like, she doesn't remember anything else.
Yeah. Oh, so she probably, being drunk as she were, I assume she was fairly inebriated.
I couldn't get any...
Or we don't know.
We don't know. I couldn't get any reports.
But I'm going to
assume... She was drinking.
I'm going to assume
even
that
if she ever...
her falling asleep was
drinking,
not it.
She was drinking. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I'm going to assume her falling asleep in this cold and snow and everything was not a result of her walking 1.5 miles. Although it probably could be. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Who am I? Probably you get tired when you get cold, but I don't think she was probably freezing at the point where she fell asleep. I think she probably fell down or tripped or slipped over something, and then saw a light, and then was just like, oh, I'm tired, and then
you're not actually too far off, but we'll get there in a second. So Wally Nelson, the friend's house, he recalls waking up with a woman that he took home from the bar around 7 a.m. He wakes up. Yeah. And by wakes up at 7 a.m. after a one-night stand, it's not so much waking up as my body needs hydration and I have to pee. Right. So you get up and you kind of stumble to the bathroom and you go and get yourself a glass of water or whatever, Gatorade, whatever you happen to have by the side of your bed. Maybe even another
water,
beer.
3 ibuprofen, and a good pee, and then I lay back down for an hour or two, and I'm solid.
Yeah, you're not really awake at this point. He's still
no. This is basically drunk, but like you went to sleep in between it, and so you're like, I feel like I'm probably not drunk anymore, and so it's mostly hungover. But like I know I need some water at this point because I'm old. I know I need some water and ibuprofen to recover. When I was in college, I would do that. Wake up and show up to my organic chemistry class at 8 a.m. Hungover.
Not sober. Yeah, you're so drunk.
Pretty drunk.
I went to a couple of classes, a little inebriated.
It's rough. It's real rough. Don't do that, college kids. If you're here watching this because like you got an assignment, well, you won't be watching this one. If you got an assignment for like a history thing or whatever, going to class drunk's no good.
Yeah, it's not. I don't recommend. Well,
it's not fun, and you don't get anything out of it.
No, you don't. Just skip it. Just don't even go.
Just don't bother. Just get drunk and then don't go anytime.
Yeah, by my senior year.
That's terrible advice, Tommy.
No, by my senior year, I learned that. Like, just don't go drunk. Like, it's not worth it.
I mean, really though, yeah.
It's not worth it. Anyway. So Wally recalls waking up. He's got his one night stand. I refuse to call her a girlfriend because she's not a girlfriend. It's one night stand.
Right.
As he's walking back to the bedroom, still a little inebriated himself, I'm sure. He sees a lump in the front yard, like in front of his porch, and he's shocked when he's like, "Oh shit, that's like a jacket and gloves." And he looks, "Oh fuck, that's a person!" So he goes outside and rushes to her, recognizes that it is Jean's jacket. So he goes and rushes because he is. I think he was dating at some point one of her friends or vice versa or something like that.
Okay, so it's just it's a friend or acquaintance that he knows. He recognizes her jacket.
Yeah.
He catches it out of the corner of her eye. He's like, oh, that's something different because it's not just pure white because we're in Minnesota during the winter.
Yeah.
And everything's
he goes out there.
He saw some color or darkness. And
he goes out there and she's frozen stiff. And he reports in his own interviews, he says, and I quote, "I grabbed her by the collar and skidded her into the porch. I thought she was dead, froze stiffer than a board, but I saw a few bubbles coming out of her nose." Okay.
I mean, that's fine. The body releases a lot. Like, people talking about, like, dead bodies making noises and all sorts of shit. It's because you have a lot of gas and stuff inside your body. Yeah. And it releases it over time, and there's different things. And so, like, even just pressing on the chest of a dead person, there's going to be air left in their lungs that wasn't forced out. And they're going to, or whatever, make some weird-ass noise. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, how do you drag somebody up and be like, they're still alive? Like they're dead, right?
He does think that she's dead. He sees tracks in the snow that indicate that at some point she tripped and fell, and then tried to crawl for a little bit, and then just stopped. By all indications, she could have been out there as little as 5 hours, but as long as 7 hours. So it's I mean, that's a fairly short window, but I guess the human body freezes 5 hours at some point. Put something in a freezer for 5 hours. It's pretty good, and
that's
hard.
it.
I mean,
it's frozen. I'm a chemistry major, and typically we say 1 hour, and obviously it depends. But we give things an hour to get up to ambient temperature. Mm-hmm. And so if it allow things to equilibrate if you need to, and so you give it 4 or 5 hours, just about anything unless it's some specific freezing resistant material is going to be frozen solid at that point.
Yep, pretty much. So things start to get awkward, and the story gets a little bit weird because he does notice that her body's stiff. She's not showing any signs of life. There's tracks in the snow that says that she collapsed, crawled, and then stopped. And so he is thinking that she's probably dead, but he's got to get her to the hospital because, dead body.
Because what else do you do with a body? You find a body. You don't just be like, oh, well, it's dead. I'm going to keep it and stick it in a closet.
So he tries to take her and put her in a truck, but she's straight.
Why? Oh, he can't call the ambulance in the town because obviously it doesn't exist because there's 87 people and none of them are trained EMTs.
So he's trying to get her into his truck to take her to the hospital, but he can't fit her into the truck because it's a truck. Well, he can fit her in the bed, but he can't fit her into the cab of the truck. So
seems like a bed would be good enough.
Yeah, right. So he can't fit her in the cab of the truck because she's stiff and she won't bend to get in the passenger seat. And this is a truck that
can recline at me. It's a two-door.
It's a two-door truck with no cab in the back.
No.
So he has to go up to his one night stand and go, hey, can we borrow your car and put her in the back seat?
Got this frozen girl that showed up. Can we use your car?
So he puts Frozen Girl in the back of her car, and I want to imagine it's a Ford Pinto just to make the story better because it's 1980.
I'd prefer an El Camino, but I guess they'd be the same situation. I assume they'd be the same situation as they would with the truck, but an El Camino would make it funnier.
It's probably like a K car, like a Reliant or something like that. I'm sure.
It was 1980.
1980. So yeah, Reliant.
You got to think it's something. It's some kind of boat.
Yeah, it's a boat. They get her in the back of the boat. They drive her to the hospital, and when they arrive at the nearest hospital, which is surprisingly only 10 minutes away, because Boston apparently is only 10 minutes away from whatever the fuck city I said.
Wait, Boston?
No, not Boston. Boston.
Boston.
F-O-S-S.
I'm like, wait, hold on. I thought we were missing. Okay, gotcha.
No, Boston is only 10 minutes away from Lyngby.
Okay, so that's like a legit suburb of. This is like we were saying earlier, but
I guess Lyngby is only a quarter of a square mile total. So like the whole city of Lyngby is within the footprint of Hanover College, which is kind of
1/4 of a square mile.
Yeah, quarter of a mile. Yeah, quarter of a square mile.
And 87 people live there. That's crowded.
Yeah,
I'm surprised someone didn't come across her earlier.
Yeah. Medical staff assumes that she's dead because when she does arrive, her eyes are frozen. Her eyes are frozen open. They're legitimately frozen.
You check for a pulse.
She is a legitimate board. Like she is frozen. Like knock on wood. Like as hard as this table. They try to put an IV into her, and the needle won't go in.
Yeah, go ahead and freeze a chicken breast for a while, and then go try sticking a thin piece of metal in there. See how that goes.
They take a flashlight, do the whole flashlight to the eye things. Nothing's happening because the eyes are literally frozen open. They're not even just frozen. They're frozen open.
No. Right. Yeah. They're open too, which is also indicative of
being dead.
Death, right?
But
because if she did just pass out and fall asleep, you would imagine you fall asleep and then you freeze to death. You're going to freeze to death with your eyes closed, right?
Yeah. And so what they do is they basically put her on a gurney, but you're not dead until you're warm and dead. So at this point, their best estimate...
Is that a rule?
Yeah, that's actually a medical rule. You're not dead until you're warm.
No kidding.
Yeah. So they have to warm you up, and then once you're warm,
like ambient temperature. Well, again, that takes about an hour.
They got to get you up. They got to get you up to what the body. They got to get you up to about 98 degrees. So what the body should be. So they're like, all right, well, we got some heating pads in the back. Just throw some heating pads on her and just wait.
And blankets and shit, and just
see what happens.
Chill.
So they're waiting. After a couple hours, she has a heartbeat. After 2 hours of being on some heating pads, they know it's a heartbeat.
Okay, so the heart starts going, and that's fine.
It's very, very faint, 12 beats a minute, so very barely moving. Barely even moving.
Okay, lizard style, because that's how lizards do it.
Yep.
So again, our lizard people proof theory still stands. But a heartbeat's fine, but a heartbeat, again, and oh boy, are people going to be mad at me for this, but a heartbeat does not represent life. You need brain activity.
And so again, they're thinking there's like zero chance of reviving her. Yeah, she might have a heartbeat. Yeah, she might be
heartbeat
alive.
in a coma. Now we revived her into a coma.
So they're like, all right, well, we'll keep the process going. At this point, she's about 88 degrees. which is 10 degrees less of what she should be.
Right.
So definitely in hypothermia range. She does have frostbite on her legs and toes.
I mean, obvious. Yeah, you got to at that point. If you literally froze, I would imagine, I would imagine ears, nose, fingers, toes.
Things are frozen.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Knees and toes. Yeah, it's all frozen. And they go, well, we don't really have any faith of reviving her. Yeah, she might have a heartbeat, but we'll keep going. We'll get up to 98 degrees. We'll see what the brain activity is, but it's probably going to be nothing.
She's going to be in a comatose state. She's going to be a vegetable.
5 to 7 hours with limited oxygen. So, usually it's not going to work.
You can't do that. The brain cannot survive that way.
Can't survive that way.
According to human anatomy, people, teachers, professors.
By middle of the morning, by 10:30 in the morning, around 10:30 in the morning, she wakes up in a spasm of gasps and breaths.
Okay, all right, no, she doesn't. No, I got fooled by a movie.
Snoops
right?
this shit.
That's movie style. She, I imagine someone was sitting next to her bed when it happened, and all of a sudden, and she did that whole thing.
By noon, Johnny, 12 o'clock in that same day, she's talking. She's up, she's awake, she's very confused, but she's talking. She's having full-blown conversations. Like, yeah, I was walking. I crashed my truck or car.
Oh my God, that's gotta.
I started walking. I fell asleep, and now I'm here. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, I've had days like that.
Well, you get drunk and you wake up and you're like, where the hell? Where?
I've had days like that. Excuse me. No. So the worst morning after a really drunk night is when you're walking across a small campus, and I imagine for her it's very similar walking across a small town or being in a hospital with small town. But and anyway, I had one of those nights and then walked across, and people I did not recognize, never met before, didn't know, looked at me, saw me, and said, "Oh, hey, how are you feeling today?" And that's when you know it was a long, drunken night. And so I can only imagine, after being frozen, the confusion of people being like, you're in a hospital, you're in a different place, but be like, so you were a bit frozen last night.
How are you doing?
And, excuse me? Oh, well, that's strange. Because I just remember drinking.
When she wakes up, she starts talking. She's like, "Well, I thought I just fell asleep, and now I'm here. I don't know what happened. You tell me."
Of course she did, because she was wasted.
By 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it appeared that her brain activity was normal. She's talking. She shouldn't be talking.
Normal brain activity.
She's talking. She shouldn't be talking. She shouldn't be alive. She's brain dead.
She should no function should be happening. That's insane.
She was treated for frostbite and hypothermia and spent 49 days in the hospital. But miraculously, as her body warmed up, a lot of those symptoms of frostbite went away, and like her legs were frozen. She gained mobility back in her legs. She gained mobility back in her hands. She would leave the hospital 49 days later without losing anything. No fingers, no toes, no
fingers or toes. Are you kidding me?
Nothing. No.
There are people walking this earth who had a snowball fight that got out of hand that ended up losing fingers or an ear or toes because they were out too long. Nothing. She froze solid.
Yeah.
Went to a hospital. They warmed her up with blankets and kept everything.
Yep.
Including her memory.
Well, I mean, up to the point of walking and sleeping, but yeah.
No, but, I mean, when your brain stops receiving oxygen for that long, when it stops receiving blood flow, you would assume, for that long, because she has to be... good news for Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Because turns out, looks like your cryogenic unfreezing is going to go well. You need 5 hot pads and some, small ass hospital up in the north bit of Montana, Minnesota, whatever the fuck. Good God.
She would get her 15 minutes of fame. Rightfully so.
She should give her an hour.
She got onto the.
She is a lizard people. We need to welcome her with open arms because they are going to take us over.
Mm-hmm.
For crying out loud!
She got onto the Today Show, and met Tom Brokaw, whatever, and did the interview with Tom Brokaw. Is he still on? Is he still?
I don't know.
I know
Tom, you think I watch the news?
I don't watch
Tommy,
that
for
shit.
crying out loud!
But she got on the Today Show. He's not on the Today Show anymore. Anyways, she got on the Today Show. She met.
No,
Tom
I think
Brokaw.
it's Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah. And so we're asking ourselves how the hell did she survive? So there are some theories here.
Yes, she's a lizard person. No, I'm not asking myself anything. She is an alien from outer space.
There's that one.
She is one of the lizard people. No doubt she's probably a politician now.
There's always that. She's not. She works at Walmart. From the last report that I could find about her life, she works at Walmart in Minnesota.
Seems like she should work at like an ice skating rink or something. What do I know?
Alcohol is one of the theories as to how she survived. That she drank enough alcohol that prevented the vital organs from freezing.
And that's okay.
You have to drink a lot.
Don't like that theory.
Yeah,
I don't like that theory for many reasons. Also, one of them is they tell you that although
it makes you feel warmer, it screws you up because it
makes you feel warmer.
It keeps the blood.
It doesn't actually warm your core temperature.
Yeah.
And so I don't like that.
But the actual primary theory is that essentially it's hibernation. So,
like she went into lizard low-key hibernation, bear hibernation.
So and she is not the only one that
or frog.
Yeah, she's not the only one that this has happened to. So what they think happened is that as she froze, as the body freezes, the blood flow slows down, and as the blood flow slows down, the body requires less and less oxygen. So if your blood's pumping at 2 or 3, your heart's pumping at 2 or 3 beats a minute, you don't need to breathe that much. Assuming those functions can still happen, your body goes into hibernation mode. If you warm up the body slowly, and you do it over a course of time, and that blood slowly warms up, that blood will slowly trigger the body to regenerate itself. As you're starting to breathe again, the oxygen comes back. As long as you don't do it too quickly, you can come out of that state of hibernation.
And so if Homeboy didn't drag her into whatever friggin' sunroom he dragged her into or whatever the heck, and then called the ambulance or whatever, like that time from her getting into this house of some sort of shelter.
The patio, yeah.
Yeah,
and then
some sort of shelter, and then the transportation, and then they just tossed some blankets and, you know.
If he would have chucked her, basically, if he would have chucked her in a hot bath, dead. But he didn't chuck her in a hot bath.
That's good to know. That's valuable information. We could save some lives here today, Tommy. Tell you what, if you come across a solidly frozen body, might not be dead, bring it inside and warm it up slowly. I think that's an important bit of information that our viewers can take home today.
Modern techniques actually use devices to warm the blood slowly and then reintroduce it into the body. So basically they take the blood out that's frozen or cold, near freezing, and then they warm it up slowly and put it back into the body.
So like a looping IV.
Yeah, looping IV where they slowly
got like a heater on one of the tubes or whatever.
She's not been the only one to survive this. There have actually been 6 studies in the United States and world alone that the people were frozen as hard as a board and have survived. In the United States, as recently as 2015, there was a Justin Smith of Pennsylvania who was found by his father in the snow after being frozen for 12 hours. He was walking home. His core temperature was as low as 68 degrees when they measured it. And he survived by this whole, slowly warming him up.
Yeah. Now, do you happen to know what the longest bit of time one of these people have been frozen?
No, it might have been Justin Smith at 12 hours. That
12 hours. Now, because that's the thing, like, they were frozen, but the way the human body works is,
they're not frozen for like a year. No.
Right. But as you chill down, you get cold, whatever. There's a reason your fingertips and your toes and everything get cold first, is because all the body, all the blood, all the warmth and everything starts coming inside to protect your vital organs. And so, they weren't frozen solid all the way through. They were frozen casing of a human body. They were mummified with ice instead of, toilet paper or whatever they actually used.
Yeah.
And so because of that, they were able to warm up slowly. They still had basically their core center life force that was like, we're hanging on at a very low temperature and just barely, but
they
still enough to pump blood and flow and do things.
I do remember a Rescue 911 episode that was a kid crashed his car into the icy water and was alive and like was frozen for like 6 hours or something like that. And he's one of these six that did survive. So it is an odd anomaly. I don't think from what I could research very briefly. There's not,
again, guys. We threw in the towel this week.
The best explanation I could find was basically essentially the body goes into hibernation mode, and as long as you warm it up slowly,
it's that slow bit of warming.
It's possible to keep them alive.
And no, I wonder, and perhaps we have some people who happen to study hibernation in bears. Hope you do. If you do. Is it a similar process?
That's actually what they did.
Is that what it is?
That's what they did compare
because bears wake up so slowly from their hibernation, they're able to still function, or they're mammals that can slow their heartbeat down to such a rate that.
Jean, she would go on from reports I would see. She would have kids. She would get married. She would get divorced. So she lives the American dream, working
good
for
her.
Walmart in Minnesota. At least that was.
She is the 50%.
Yeah, that was at least up to like 2015, which is the most recent stuff I could find. Sort of. I'm not deep. I'm not.
That's fine.
I'm not a creeper. I'm not a creeper.
We're not here to get into her Facebook profile and find.
I did not.
We're
I
here
did not
for the
try to get into a
Facebook.
Yeah, I definitely did not try to get into a Facebook.
No, and nobody needs to. She's lived enough of a life.
None of our 300 followers do that.
Yeah, 343. Actually, 342.
It keeps going up and down.
Thank you, jackass, for the unsubscribe. Appreciate it.
Unsubscribe. We've been like hanging around, whatever. And thank you, YouTube, for like not.
Hey, all right. YouTube's great. I love YouTube.
I love YouTube.
And everybody on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. It's gonna be good. We'll keep going. That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us next week when we talk about the drug wars, the Reagan years.